Hey guys, in this video we're going to look at how to create an animated Christmas card. Now this is going to be a program really similar to what we've done before. I'm starting off with a simple application, and this is basically the same as what we've done in the past, except that I've added this constructor here. So you might remember we very quickly last lesson had a look at what a constructor is, and the basic rules for a constructor is that we write the name of the class, and then we can do open and close brackets, and then anything that we put in here is going to be executed when we create a class of this type. So if I create one of these classes, Christmas, then it's going to do the commands in here. Now the command that I've put actually just sets the dimensions of the window, so don't worry too much if this doesn't make sense at the moment. This is something that we'll study more when we look at inheritance later on. But if you add in this line, then you'll find that when you run the program, the window that we get is bigger. Now the reason I've set the window to be bigger like that is so that we can display a picture. So I took this picture off the internet, and this is going to be the background. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have snow which is falling down the screen in order to make the picture a bit more interesting. So first of all, let's load in the picture. Now, to do that, I need to create a variable. So I'll put an image here, and I'll call it background, and then import that. And then the picture is on my desktop. So this is the path. Now obviously you'll have your own path and you can use your own picture if you want. If you use a different picture, you might need to change these dimensions. So this picture is 1024 by 768, and obviously that fits this screen exactly. So then in the onFrame method, I'm going to draw that picture on the screen. Like that. And if we run it, there's my picture on the screen. So this gives us the starting point for our app. Now what we want to do is to have snow falling. So if you think about the way that we did the star program, okay, we created lots of star objects and we put them into an array. And if you remember how we did that, then this could be a good time to pause the video and see if you can do the same for some snowflake objects. So have a go at that, and then I'm going to show you the solution in just a second. Okay, so first of all, let's create the snowflake objects. So I go to create a new class, and I'm going to call the class snowflake. And inside each snowflake, I'm going to have an X and a Y coordinate. Now I need to have an array. And that array is going to contain snowflakes, so I write the name snowflake, and then I write the square brackets to show that it's an array. And I'll call it snowflakes. Now I can choose here how many snowflakes I want in the array. So for example, for 100 snowflakes I put 100. But it's good style to actually use a variable, so I'm going to put int num snowflakes equals 100, and then write that variable name in there. And that allows me to change the number of snowflakes later on by just changing the value of that variable. Okay, so I've made an array and I've made a class called snowflake, and now what I need to do is to write a for loop which will create new snowflakes and put them in every location in the array. So remember, this has said that the array exists. This has created memory for the array, but it still hasn't actually put any snowflakes in the array. That's what we need to do with this for loop. So again, hopefully you remember how to do this from the Starfield program and the program before as well. Have a go at it now, and then I'm going to give you the solution in a moment. Okay, so here we go. I use a for loop. sorry, let's make that num snowflakes. And then what I do is I put into the snowflake array at location I a new snowflake like that. Okay, now I want all of the snowflakes to be at random positions on the screen. And I know my screen has these dimensions. So let's go to Snowflake, and we're going to write a constructor which sets x and y to random coordinates on the screen. So first of all, writing a constructor, I write the name of the class, then some brackets, and then inside I need to give x and y random numbers. X is going to be between, now it's 1024 pixels across, so that's from minus 512 up to plus 512. And it's 768 pixels high, so that's minus 384 to plus 384. So have a go at making random numbers with those values. And here's how to do it. So I make a random number generator, and then I'm going to set x is random.nextDouble times times 1024 minus 512, and then y is a random double times 768 minus 384. Okay, so now I've made an array which contains snowflakes at random positions on the screen, but I'm not actually drawing those snowflakes yet, so there's no snowflakes visible. So the next step is to make those snowflakes appear on the screen. Again, pause the video if you think you know how to do it, and then I'm going to give you the solution in a moment. Okay, so here's the solution. So first of all, I'm going to use a for loop. And then I'm going to get the x and y coordinate from the snowflake. So the snowflake let's get the snowflake I'm interested in out of the array. And then I'll get the x and y coordinate. So first of all, the x coordinate. Now remember, these need to be changed to integers so that I can draw them on the screen. Now, I'm using fill circle here to make a round circle, and I'm choosing a radius of 3. So let's test that. And there we go. I didn't set the color, but the default color is white, so that's fine. And here we've got snowflakes over the screen. I kind of feel that 100 isn't enough. I want more snow than that. Let's try 500. There we go. That's pretty snowy. Okay. So now, one thing which might be useful, a lot of you probably already know that I can write this in a shorter way. So instead of having a for loop which goes through each position in the array and then getting the snowflake out of the array, there's a short way to write that. Because this is such a common thing, you can just write it as snowflake, snowflake, and then colon, and then the array. So this is a shorthand in Java which allows us to write this very common pattern more quickly. And it does exactly the same thing. Okay, so now the next step is we've got to make the snow move down the screen. And when it gets to the bottom of the screen, we want it to come back on the top of the screen. So again, you might want to pause the video now. I'm going to show you the solution in just a second. But we're getting that snow to move down and then wrap to the top if it goes off the bottom, so that we have constantly falling snow. Okay, so here's the solution. First of all, I need to subtract from the y coordinate of each snowflake. So let's subtract 1. Now I need an if statement to check if the snowflake goes off the bottom of the screen. So the bottom of the screen is coordinate 384, minus 384, and then if I want to move that to the top of the screen, I can just add 768. That's going to make it jump from minus 384 to plus 384. And I could have also put snowflake.y equals 384, but the reason I add 768 is because, for example, if this went to minus 385, then it would go to 767, and it just deals with those cases where it goes a little bit further. In this case, it doesn't make a lot of difference, but it's more a question of my habit. Okay, so let's run the program. And now you can see when the snow goes off the bottom, it comes back on the top. And that's okay. Now, the next step is we want to have some depth. Okay, so we need to start adding a z coordinate. So let's add a z coordinate into the program now. And again, you might want to think about how we did that with stars. Now, there's a little bit of a catch here, because if you remember when we did the star exercise, as these z values get smaller, as the z values get bigger and things are further away, they get pulled into the center of the screen. Now, I tried this exercise a little bit earlier on, and I realized that if you pull things into the center of the screen, obviously it doesn't look very good, because the snow needs to be coming from the top, and it doesn't necessarily need to go to the bottom of the screen. Some of the snow needs to stop when it gets to the mountains or to the landscape over here, but it all needs to come from the top. So rather than doing y coordinates from the center of the screen, if we're going to add in a z component, then it really helps to measure y coordinates from the top of the screen. So what I mean by that is that y will be 0 at the very top of the screen, and then we have negative numbers on the y-axis as we move down the screen. So the bottom of the screen will actually be minus 768. Now, let's make that change before I get you to have a go at anything with perspective. So to make that change, what we'll do is we'll make the y value equal to 384 plus snowflake.y. So adding that 384 means that instead of going from minus 384 to plus 384, we're going to go from minus 768 to 0. Okay, so now let's just have a look. We need to check this one, and this is going to be minus 768 now, and then it's going to, actually I could still keep that as plus 768. And also I need to change in Snowflake, instead of going from minus 384 here, I'm just going to multiply by minus 768. And if those changes are correct, it should look exactly the same as before. Okay, so it does look the same as before, which means I've done it right. So all that's changed here is the axes, right? Instead of going from minus 384 to plus 384, I'm now going from minus 768 to 0 at the top. And the reason we're doing that is because once we start dividing by the z value, that axis is going to pull snow towards the top of the screen, which is what we want, instead of towards the center of the screen, which is going to look weird. Okay, so now, guys, you probably can do the rest of it. So we're going to add in a z component, and then we're going to have some depth so that the snowflakes which are closer to you move faster, and also maybe you can make them larger circles, and the snowflakes which are further away could be smaller circles. So pause the video and have a go at doing it yourself, and then I'll give you the solution in a moment. Okay, so here's the solution. First of all, I'm going to have double z, and the z value, now in this case I'm just going to make it a value between, let's think, if I make the radius of each snowflake 6 pixels maximum, and then I could make the Z value between 1 and 5, and that means that the furthest snowflakes away will have a Z value of 6, and if I divide 6 as the maximum radius by 6, the maximum depth, then that's going to mean that the smallest snowflakes have a pixel size, a radius of 1, and the biggest snowflakes will have a radius of 6, and that sounds about right. So let's try it here. I'm going to make a new variable called radius, and it's going to equal 6 divided by snowflake.z, and of course I have to make that an integer. Now that will make the snowflakes which are furthest away smallest. It's not going to change the speed that they're falling yet, but let's just check that part's working. So yeah, some snowflakes are smaller than others. They're all falling at the same speed at the moment, but that's the next step. So to make them fall at different speeds, I'm going to also divide the y coordinate by snowflake.z. And then test that. And yeah, it seems to work okay. It doesn't look too bad. So we've got some snowflakes in the distance here which are falling quite slowly, and some snowflakes which are closer which are falling faster. And the ones which are closer also disappear at a lower point on the screen, whereas the ones which are further away disappear at a higher point on the screen. So I think that's pretty much what we want. Okay, so guys, this gives you a basic framework for creating something very Christmassy. I suppose that you could add in a few extra things. Maybe you could have the snow in the distance a little bit darker than the snow which is closer to you. You could have a little Santa, maybe the sleigh going across this sky or something like that. There's all sorts of nice things that you can add in. You could also have a look at playing some sound in Java, maybe play a jolly Christmas tune or something like that. So guys, I hope that gives you a few ideas, and ho ho ho, Merry Christmas to you.